Check, check. Check. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. This is me when I blow in the booth. Check, check, check. Peace to y'all family. How y'all doing? I see that my little avatar bouncing. So I'm guessing this is working. You know, I ain't got no following yet. So, you know, it's like I'm talking to myself up in here. But, you know, eventually, you know, everybody catch on. So that's how it go. When you're building, when you start from the bottom and you respect the grind, and you're all the way down and ready for the fight, for the battle, right? To be successful, man. How's everybody doing? Shout out to the Gulf Coast. Shout out to Mississippi. I don't know what them country for. Mississippi. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? I know how, you know, us as black folks, we get putting that swag, that flavor, that sauce. Oh, I hear some stuff. I know y'all hear it. There you go. What's up, boo? You want lollipop? Yeah, I can have a lollipop. Okay.
No, turn about the iPad.
Oh, you want my iPad? 1 second, y'all. 1 second, y'all. Hold up. Tell you what we gonna do. Hold on, I ain't talking to you. We're gonna go ahead and slide, because this is me showing the homie Rick Bang some love. Let me go in and share this video file while I'm doing that. We're gonna take care of my little boy. 1 sec. Where is this at? Where is it at? I'm coming. There we go.
Lord, let the Mississippi River flow. Let it wash away my pain. I know hope that I'll never get to see again. Hope it wash away my pain. Yeah. My mama's from Clarksdale and my daddy's from Natchez, Mississippi. My folks in Chicago, they need to come home. On the 2-lane highway, we used to stop anywhere and go fishing. But those days are gone. I sat in the driveway on a little one whiskey, just trying to be strong. I found out the hard way, life can get a little tricky, but you got to hold on, Lord, let the Mississippi River flow. Let it wash away my pain. I know hope that I'll never get to see again. Hope it wash away my pain. Yeah, this is the place where you lay your burdens down. Yeah, lay your burdens down. If a tree in the woods fall down and you never get to see it, never heard a sound. Thursdays and Fridays I'm gonna do a little bullshitting, but if you knew what's on my mind, give your people some flowers while they're here and still living. 'cause we're running out of time. Lord, let the Mississippi River flow. Let it wash away my pain. I know folk that I'll never get to see again. Hope it wash away my pain. Lord, let the Mississippi River flow. Let it wash away my pain. I know folk that I'll never get to see again. Hope it wash away my pain.
Check. That was the homie Rick Bang, man. Natchez, Mississippi stand. So peace to everybody, man. Today, let me get this off the screen. How do I get this off the screen? Go right there. Boom. 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 Hey, what up? I always gotta clear my throat. All right, so today, man, I wanted to get into the freedmen. We're gonna be exploring the African Native American genealogy forum. It's an old school forum, man, but I see that people are still commenting and asking questions and discussions about where we came from, the different sides and how it played out. So history, we know that we've been told one story through the schools and education, but it seems like most of the time there's always like a half truth and there's always more to the story. So I respect those that, especially those who do not have a degree and still have that will, that power to, to explore the truth, man, and get it out to the people, regardless of your, your perspective on things. But anyhow, I am on the website. I'm trying to let this link be placed in the description after the show. Right now, I just copy and paste the title, and I just went live. So we're gonna be exploring the African Native American Genealogy Forum, AfriGenius.com. And that link will be in the description. So, so yeah, we got. Hold on, let me go back. I don't even know if y'all even. I'm trying to screen share, video file, screen share screen. Stream. Yeah. Boom. All right. So I think that. All right. So this is basically an old school thread, man, and you see 2008 a while back, and conversations was being had then, and even before that, we always been asking the question who we are, where we come from. It seems to be a lot of confusion, or a lot of us have in a identity crisis. All right, we don't know who we are. Well, some of us do, right? And some of us is like you've been told as such, and you do some research. You look at the records, the census records, and you see that you may be something else, or a blend between. It just ain't all of what somebody tell you at face value. But looking here on this let's go to the first one. This particular thread is about freedmen, the freedmen towns. And by definition, how they got to explain what a freedman is an African slave. I don't believe it's all Africans. I believe that some Indians were slaves and also being uh, called freemen or labeled freemen, mixed bloods, freemen, right? And uh, um, it's not just Africans. It's not just Africans. So it's a little bit of everybody. I wouldn't be surprised if it was some white freedmen that was. But yeah, this one. Let's see. All right, this discussion regarding the tribal towns and other communities that were predominantly occupied by persons of African descent has been an interesting one. This is by the speaker right now, Angela Walton Reggie. I did a show. Let's see, I think it was on this one. Which one? I'm trying to figure out how far I go back. 3 weeks ago, about 3 weeks, this Black Choctaw Genealogy Part 1. You gotta go check that out. Angela played a major role in the information displayed on that particular live. So in this, and I want to say that she has something to do with this site, or at least recommended it. And part of it, I was looking up the forum. So I wanted to see what was being said and what was in. It was a bunch of back and forth and I guess you would call a diatribe, right, on certain subjects. And it's really good to hear both sides, and you can pretty much take from both perspectives, or whoever had any knowledge to chime in. So continuing on, Terry, you mentioning the CCFP efforts to document those lesser known settlements from Stringtown to Milo is critical. Oklahoma is often referred to as having such a large number of all Black towns, many of which evolved from the distributions of land through the allotment process. Okay, so all Black towns may be quoted as Africans and were distributed land through the allotment process. And that the allotment process is when the government giving out the lands or taking away, ceding the lands, but giving it back to certain people through the treaties and what they agreed on with the Indians. All right. Many of the Black towns were in Indian territory, and the few that survive today were IT towns, which is Indian towns. I would be curious, however, how the three Creek Black tribal towns, which had a very large population, were suddenly erased, especially when Lake Eufaula, the man-made lake, was created. I am speaking of North Fork, Canadian and Arkansas towns. They're sitting now in watery graves, left only to the picking scuba divers. In Lake Eufaula is amazing, considering their histories. How did they disappear and end up getting submerged when the lake was created? Our project to document the Choctaw freedmen settlements has been an enlightened one, particularly in the communities such as Fort Cuff. We're gonna copy that, probably check that out a bit. But another old settlement. Their entire town is mostly Choctaw freedmen, and the only freedmen elected to serve on the Choctaw Tribal Council was from that community. There were mostly people with ties to old Scullyville. Okay, so um, I don't think I got the first part of this, where this came from, but that was the first one in the thread. So let's see where somebody replied. This is in response to Freedom Towns and to Ellie Grayson, right? By let me go to the next one. And it says, all right. Thanks for the distinctions between the two, as many are not aware of the differences. My interest was in Norfolk colored, Canadian colored, and Arkansas colored towns. I have some early maps that reflect where they were, and also have another map that was of the Creek and Seminole nations where there were simply settlements of Creek Negroes mentioned. The unfortunate This unfortunately did not have a year stated, and I am guessing the map was from mid to late 1880s. I have been researching them off and on from some towns, and also have some information on the various town kings. Kings. Not only these, but also of the towns. In addition, I found that there were some town kings mentioned in the research of Sigma Seventh from town and titles well into the 20th century, and some of those town entities that he referred to in his work were not official towns. And I found these references to the town kings to be quite interesting. It is also to be noted, well, I mean, it also should be noted that the official communities where many conducted official business were not the same as the towns, or were not always tied to their own place of residency, especially in communities in the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations. Angela, okay, uh, let's see what Miss Grayson got to say. Eli Grayson. Greetings, Eli. Interesting statistics of all times you listed. It appears most of the Black Creeks lived in segregated communities, but comprised a sizable portion of the population, almost 4,000 people, circa 1891. Is there a reason you know of the created? Is there a reason you know of that created this situation of segregation? With your explanation of the difference between towns and tribal political groups, I'm still at loss what exactly was buried underwater. Okay, yeah, because you mentioned that you follow creek, no, you follow almost a river or creek or lake, and it was man-made, so they had some about it. I'm amazed that the Creek or Native Americans in general are not in arms. If it is true some people are collecting Native American artifacts and no one is demanding they be repatriated to the tribe, repatriated. Never heard that word, but yeah. Is this based on the tribe nation not accepting the descendants of freedmen from those tribal towns as part of the tribe? What is Would it be a part of a strategy of reorganizing the tribal towns in an effort to stop the plundering of the sites that lie beneath the waters of the lake? Seems to be a host of possibilities. Okay, I'll probably read a few more of these, and I just want to explore some of the subjects along with this. This is one I was already looking at, but continuing on, this is Ellie Grayson again. It appears most of Black Creeks lived in segregated communities. All right, so she's responding to that. Hi, Terry. Once again, these tribes are not communities such as a place to live. They were membership-based tribes. Another way to understand this is I am a Creek citizen living in Palm Springs, California. Although the Creek Nation boundary is in Oklahoma, Creeks are more than just the land area. It's the people. The Canadian colored tribe consisted of former Creek slaves who lived throughout the Creek Nation. Remember, the Creek Nation was a confederacy of many tribes. Three happened to be freedmen tribes. Okay, so that was her response to this one. This is another she's going to respond to. I'm still at loss what exactly was buried underwater. All right, and the response was, what's buried under Lake Eufaula is old village of North Fork, Norfolk, North Fork, get it better. Yeah, so North Fork, not Creek Freedman tribe, North Fork colored. Okay, so North Fork colored should be uh, the people who were buried under. I wonder if there any excavations of that. I wonder what's the evidence of that, or we can see pictures or something. So as far as people stealing from the underwater site of the old village North Fork, I think it's against the law. We passed an amendment to our Constitution Convention on November 7th that would be voted on by the citizens in a few months that would give our government more power to do something about preservation and going after grave robbers. Ooh, that exists, right? When we're talking about $5 Indians and them, you know, uh, basically stealing your ancestors' names and to take over the land. So that is a reality, that is history, and we got to keep that in consideration. All right, but note one thing, Terry, that old village was not a Creek freedman town or village. Eli. Ooh, it's a lot on this one. Okay, so as back in, perhaps much of the confusion comes from the words of persons who are in authority, who present information alluding to towns as towns or cities, places to live, and not as tribes. Example for the Oklahoma Encyclopedia of History and Culture. Marshalltown, Norfolk colored, Fort colored, Canadian colored, and Arkansas colored existed as early as the 1860s in Indian Territory. Other Indian Territory towns that no longer exist include Sanders, Mobile, Wiley, Homer, Huntsville, Lee, and Renton. Among the Oklahoma towns no longer in existence are Lincoln, Cimarron City, Bailey, Zion, Emmanuel, Eudora, and Douglas. Towns that still survive are Bowley, Brooksville, Clearview, Grayson, Langston, Lima, Redbird, Winsville, Summit, Tatum, Tallahassee, and Vernon. And the article in this entirety can be found here. Let's check that, Jenna. Oh man, we ain't got Broken Link. But I got it, this is from 2008. So most definitely probably. But most people reading this will interpret the word town to mean a settlement where many individuals reside, especially as they were all listed together in the source being an authoritative source. It is quite true that the historical old North Fork town was an Indian town located about a mile and a half east of Eufaula. But the original old town was actually destroyed in the Civil War. This is an historical marker in one of the areas near Eufaula. There's a cemetery and a mostly black cemetery, in fact, that remains on the edge of Lake Eufaula. I met someone several years ago in Maryland who actually had cousins who are buried at that very cemetery. Okay, so you know, you got people that know somebody, that know somebody, that know somebody, and tell the story. There was another Norfolk settlement, as there were neighborhood schools that were there, and records of the teachers that worked there were preserved, along with data pertaining to their tenure there, as this was after the Civil War. There are still references in the 20th century to the old Norfolk town site. In fact, Creek poet Alex Posey died near the old town site. So I'm going to add to the confusion. The Oklahoma Department of Tourism, in fact, produced a brochure promoting African American history, including a map showing the historically black towns. And on the map were the same three towns under discussion: North Fort colored, Arkansas color, and Canadian color among the towns such as Marshalltown, Bowling, and Rennisville, etc. They were aided in the production of the brochure by the Oklahoma Historical Society. So all that, is up now. You know what I'm saying? And we should check that out in these African black towns. I'm about to say African town, but like I say, if they freedmen, they not all. You know what I'm saying? Some of them mixed blood, some of them, they're all color folk. Nevertheless, the discussion is interesting, and hopefully more persons with ties to Indian country will begin to read all aspects of the history of the people, their communities, their political activities, and their efforts to place themselves squarely on the historical landscape where their ancestors were. This pertains particularly to the freedmen of all of the 5 slaveholding tribes. And the slaveholding tribes are pretty much the 5 civilized tribes, right? So that's what I want to, you already know where it is. Moving forward, man, you know what? We're gonna come back to this, man. I just want to explore this African Native American genealogy form. And we're gonna come back to this. So we're gonna go to the gallery index. Is that where we're supposed to be going? I don't know. Oh, so they got Creek conferences, Creek's old series cards. Let's see. Freedmen of the 5 civilized tribes. What is this? All right, so this was in 2017. All right, this was just a panel. I wonder if they still have that. Did they have that recorded? Showing a panel of genealogists who were also descendants of the freedmen of the 5 former slaveholding tribes to discuss genealogy, resources, and much more. Join Black Pro Gen live on YouTube and watch the broadcast live. So join Black Pro Gen live. Never heard of them? Let's check them out. Let's check them out. Oh, Black Pro Gen live. Let's check them out. First thing first. This is fair use. Fair use. I ain't got no fair use screen. Let me go ahead and before I get into that right quick. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to do something because I don't. My weakness is I can't stream anything and it have it sounding like I wanted to sound. So I'm gonna have to convert the vid just to show it, and then after the show I'll place the actual link to the video. Boom, boom. Just give me a sec. Give me a sec. Mm, 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 mm. Give me a second. And I'm just freestyling this, so you know, I guess. Come on. You know, I need to have some. We don't want to do. Wow. How's everybody doing though? If anybody is tuned in, say what up, man. In the chat, let me know. The homie, Romello Lewis. Peace to you, bro. Peace to you, bro. You know about what I'm looking up or about to look up with the what you call that BlackGen Live. I'm actually trying to convert it, but it didn't let me convert it. YouTube. Man, I need me one of those intermission. I need an intermission. Anything. Oh. And it's not letting me. Boom. Oh, that bit an hour long. What you going? That's why it's probably messing up. It's an hour long. Man, it says it's got a minute left on there. So, yeah, man, how everybody doing? We in there bit. Yeah. Man, appreciate you tuned in, though, Mello, man. What's happening with you, though? I was, BlackGen is a team of genealogists that I have been familiar with for quite some time. They all acknowledge some type of American Indian ancestry for the most part, too. For sure. Yeah, we finna get. This is my first time. I'm just going with the flow. Just going with the flow right now, wherever it takes me to. You know, sometimes when you know, not necessarily doing research, but when you're, you know, checking out information that probably will resonate with you, you know, they gonna leave some breadcrumbs, right? And you just gotta know, you know what I'm saying, when to stop. Hold up. What she just say or what he just say, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying? I never heard of that. Let me go check that out. What they talking about on that. So I won't be, you know what I'm saying, in the dark of the comfort. You know, so hopefully, you know, as researchers, you know, we learn to pick up on the breadcrumbs from both sides, even those who are indigenous to this land, like the ancestors, our ancestors, you know, they left behind breadcrumbs and we got to pick them up to put it together. We got to pick it up. All right, I think completed. So let's try this. Share video. Let's check them out. This I have no clue for fair use. I'm gonna place the link in the description.
It's time for fun, learning, commentary, laughs, and more.
Let me know if you can hear this. Get that one, Romero, if you can hear this.
BlackGen Live. Welcome to BlackGen Live, with your hosts, Nika and True, and the baddest panel in these pedigree streets.
BlackGen.
BlackGen Live.
BlackGen Live.
Alito, chuma.
The unapologetic Black and people of color viewpoint.
Hold up now. I know I just heard some Choctaw talking about Halito, and you know, I just heard that, and we associating this right with these African towns, oh not African towns, but these Black towns. You know, and Angela's response, if you just tune in, we just said when we were reading over the what you call these forms, right? How they leave behind breadcrumbs, right? This is in the African Native American genealogy form, okay? But let's keep it moving.
Genealogy, family history research with flavor.
Good evening. The concept of ex-slave pension gained traction in 1890 and became a full movement by the beginning of the 20th century. Learn about the history and the demise of the movement, the leaders, and how to find ancestors among the records. Thanks for joining for episode 128, the National Ex-Slave Youth Relief Bounty
Shout out to
Pension
Nika
Association.
Smith. That's who's presenting right now in the top right corner.
And be sure to follow us on all the various social channels. Of course, we're on Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah. Make sure y'all go subscribe. You know, I'm gonna check them out, see what they have to offer, and you know, I salute to them just for, you know, taking that energy and doing something positive with it, regardless of, you know, what perspective they may have, you know, so.
And we newly started a Instagram page a little bit earlier this year. I think we're almost to about 200 followers on Instagram. We've been sharing reels, reposts, whenever any of us is on a particular thing, we've been sharing all that kind of stuff. So if you are an active IG user, be sure to check us out on IG as well as on Twitter, as well as on Facebook, or as you know, the old folks say, the Facebooks. All right. Panel, what's up? What's cracking, ladies? How are you all?
Whenever any of us is on.
All right. Someone has sound that is playing.
Oh, look at that Tuskegee. Look at that Tuskegee hood.
Get the comments at the same time. Mute your, whoever you are, mute your mic or.
I'm looking to mute it. Don't know where it's at.
I did that this time.
I'm covering you, cousin. I'm trying to cover you.
Oh my gosh, baby, you need to focus on one thing at a time. What is going on? You know what, Shelly, since you started talking first, you can go ahead and just say hello to the people.
Hello, people. No, hello, chatters. How is everyone? It's February and it's Black History Month, 28 days. Nothing but black. Let's go for it.
Right.
I said 28 days.
What does my t-shirt say? Black history is world history.
I'm in all black tonight.
Right. Okay. You know what? There's a motif. Like, True is like I'm picking up True. I'm picking up Shelly. I'm picking up Ellen, and she comes in with like the blue, little, just a little for everything. How are you doing, Ellen?
I'm doing fine. Really happy to be here tonight.
I know. Just, yeah, it's been good. Of course, this is our first show during Black History Month.
I wonder if she saying she's African, the last lady.
It's been an ice storm going on all day and all night and into tomorrow, but so far it's so good.
She might be studying. She might be an anthropologist.
I was working at home now, so that's kind of like good because I've been spoiled. So now I have to return a favor, and I'm doing good. I'm so proud of you. Everything you've been doing this week has just been outstanding. It's just been some beautiful work and information that you have put out there. So I hope you tell our viewers, remind them of what you all had to do today.
Wonder what that information
this
is.
week on IG and Facebook, because we're so immensely proud of everything you've done this month. So you came in with a bang, and we love you for it.
Well,
you,
I'm going to tell you the best info and the best look has to go to Nika Sewell Smith and the strutting that fro. Because that girl was looking so hot coming from her little ancestry setup and all of that. I was so proud, like she was my child up there. I was so proud and excited. And then the info.
I am, because you are Chani's. You're Chani's adopted grandmommy.
I am. That's my child.
Yes, that is your baby. You guys are your little Grogu and stuff. So we have some incredible.
Little baby Grogu is here. So if Chandler's gone to bed,
there's one at my house and there's one at Shelly's, and she sent one to my son. So this week has been incredible. If you haven't seen the live I did yesterday on Instagram. On Ancestry's Instagram channel, it is saved on IGTV, so you can go back and watch it. I talked all about researching using newspapers.com, and especially for Black history research. Of course, it extends across the the spectrum, so anybody can use it. But go back and watch it. Of course, I have to answer the one question that was asked that I did not answer. Yes, this is my real hair. All right, moving on.
I remember when you cut it, it was longer than mine, and you just hacked it like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually,
That's what new moms do. Easy. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I don't have a barber. My barber is
the hubby
over there. Over there. But so it was great turnout, amazing questions. And then later on, I made sure that I called everyone's attention to the announcement that was made on the Ancestry blog. If you've not seen the live, I know it's been shared a lot. Huge announcement.
And that's the thing. And what we gonna run to, if you are honest about your family's tree, I would say from my perspective, I would assume that somewhere in that tree, that whether you call them African or Black people, or whether you think they're different or same, but color folk is it's all throughout there, all throughout the tree. We, like once we talking about, all right, we got grandma, right, and two people made grandma, right, but two people, made the person. It gets complex the further you go back, and we only account for maybe the main maternal direct lineage when we neglect the rest of the tree. And this is the only reason why I do take in all information from both sides, and just looking at the facts, comparing to the other side, compared to what I learned in school, compared to, and that's how I think scholastic research should go. With the sources. We not just out here talking. We talking about family, and even if books don't have all the answers, it's the reason why we do genealogy, and it's important, right? And we just gotta put down the differences, and it's cool to acknowledge them, but when we talk about forward progress, when we talk about building, when we talk about nation building, the differences have to be put aside for that to even to to happen. Otherwise, we'll continue to have these little cliques, we this, we that, dividing us all, and we ain't really doing anything but, you know, making minor moves instead of major moves. Right? That makes sense. So shout out to the sisters on the this panel. Nika Smith, Ellen Fernandez, Sanko, True Lewis, Shelby Murphy. I'm really interested to see and hear, you know, what they have to say. And, you know, this is my first time checking them out. So I'm just, instead of me, you know, trying to take it in and find the right things to say, woo, 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 you know, I'd rather just go through with you live. You know what I'm saying? We both getting, you know what I'm saying, the information and energy live. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's how I'm rocking right now. And hopefully that'll, you know, I'll become proficient at it, man. We could just, you know, continue to knock out some of these videos on a regular basis. But appreciate everybody tuning in.
The field office records, which is key, especially for those of us that have joined together with Dr. Shelley Murphy for Freedmen's Bureau Fridays. For those that you were there, boom, boom, boom. You already know what that means.
Freedmen's Bureau Fridays. I had to look that up, man. And, you know, I hate to keep doing this, but I'm doing, as I'm thinking, I'll be wanting to say stuff out loud. And this is basically what I'm doing, saying it out loud. Maybe it'll resonate with some of y'all, maybe not. But, you know, all of them were African. You know, we got to get out of that concept. So, you know, when they say freedmen, don't just, you know, okay, it was more than African as a slave, and Indians enslaved their own people. Indians enslaved other Indians. They had wars too. Indians had wars, right? So not everybody, when they say freedmen, is, you know, African. You know what I'm saying? Some of them were mixed, and some of them were full-blooded. And they'll tell you on these census records. You know, I did a few lives doing my own family genealogy. It's private right now, but you know, I'll probably end up editing a little bit and just releasing it, you know, and it shows you how, you know, when they say freedmen, these people are freedmen, they say full blood. They say full blood Indian, but you're a freedman. How? Like, what does that mean? Is that an oxymoron or something? Or are you psychologically trying to mess with the people through this fictitious system, right? That we got to try to figure out to play with your ass with, right? But let me keep it moving.
And they're in the chat room right now. I see some of our folks there.
Exactly. So those who come to Freedmen's Bureau Fridays, you already know how important that is. Yeah. And if you've been watching BlackGen long enough, you already know how important that is. Yeah. That the Freedmen's Bureau be entirely indexed, because, you know, especially if you are, you know, going through records like letters, all that other kind of stuff, you're going to be missing a bunch of things because you have to literally browse through those things. So that's good. Right. The other announcement, and it's so funny because everyone that like watched the video, like they got excited about one aspect. Like it was interesting to see how everyone was kind of split. So like some people were juiced about the Freedmen's Bureau because they don't want to do that browsing. And then there was like another group that was like, oh my gosh, U.S. probates are going to be entirely indexed and they're going to have. So like it was two factions. And I talked to Dante Eubanks yesterday and he had me cackling. He was like, the workday ended after your live. Like I was just like, you're close. Yes. Like we're going to do this. So I cackled, but again, this is huge, huge, huge news for our community. Again, we've been here for 128 episodes. You guys know how much we talk about the Freedmen's Bureau, how much we talk about probates and inventories and wills and estates, and how important those two record sets are to researching your ancestors while they were enslaved. So to have them in.
Yes, that is to play. Everything that she asking or talking about right now is relevant for our people today. And I hear the discussions, and they are very, very good discussions on the line. And as we continue to have more of those, we'll be more aware and taking it to the next level. You know what I'm saying? It makes it easier because you have more people fighting with you, right? So let's keep moving.
Entirely indexed. And then the other part, by the time we get to September of this year.
See, and another thing, you know, that if you're indigenous, if you're Aboriginal, if you're Indian, whatever you want to call it, and we in our classifications with that is keeping you from building with the African descendant, even though you may really be already with like half African blood in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, are we out here saying that we full-blooded Indians? Are we full-blooded this, full-blooded that? I don't. For me personally, I'm mixed up with a whole bunch of stuff. So, you know, all this shit, you know what I'm saying? The truth. To me, I don't feel, you know, no, I don't feel sorry about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel ashamed. You know, I understand what my family's history, place in history is. And some of the stuff the white folks say is true. Some of the stuff that Africans say is true. Some of the stuff that Indians say is true. Some of the stuff that Aboriginals say is true. Some of the other indigenous tribes before European, what they say is true. We can't just build a wall up and just like, hey, you're not me, so I don't want to hear what you got to say. Like, that don't make any sense, right? But and it'd be the person that look just like you. Like, you know, down the line, man, you're probably related. You know what I'm saying? So, especially in the same area, community and stuff, you know. But just Nika, oh, let me make sure I got her name right. The Smith.
October.
Smith,
it's going to be 6 months until the release of the 1950 census.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So just think, right? Also have to point out Danish West Indies records regarding enslaved people, incredible collection. So people who have maybe DNA connections or ties to the Virgin Islands, that means that your folks will also be included. And then, you know, there was a little note about this thing I'm going to be doing, video content thing.
See, that's what I'm saying. She's enrolled in the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. So, you know, most of us, you know what I'm saying, from like the indigenous side, people who are embracing, I would say I'll be the person who is embracing the, I would say, little percent, whether it's direct or not, like in comparison to your whole family tree, that would be a little bit of blood, you know what I'm saying, from that particular ancestor who's Indian, right there, right? So, you know, most of us, if we claim it, you know what I'm saying, we indigenous, we Aboriginal, and we not willing to work with our African descendant brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying, we won't be tuned, or we wouldn't have the opportunity to check out this information that the sister kicking right now, which I feel like is really relevant to help our situation today, whether you Indian or African American. There were some African Americans or Africans enslaved with these Indians, and these treaties were said to provide allotments to these Africans, people who not only Africans, but, you know, people who were considered freedmen, and freedmen had some Africans in there because of the slavery, right? So we can't, you saying you disregarding the African side of that history, you're doing yourself a disservice when it comes to the research. So I listen to the unks, even though I came from a Pan-African side, so I already know the arguments or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? I don't just 100% tune them out. You know, the Amaran squads, the raw borns. You know what I'm saying? So just to name a few, you know, who I really rock with scholarship and being like methodology. You know what I'm saying? So like people that just not just rambling and if it wasn't for genealogy on the other side, I probably wouldn't be rocking with that so much. You know what I'm saying? But it's real and you can't get away from that because it's documented. It ain't off of he say, she say, right? So that's dope, man. Romello, I didn't know that. This is my first time hearing about the channel or the movement, and I folks with it.
Just a little bit, just a little thing, right?
Just a little something, just a little bit, not a whole lot. So, yeah, chat room. I'm checking you guys out. You guys are just hilarious. Antonio
boom,
with
boom,
the
boom?
all caps. Yes, I did. Antonio in the all caps. Then I'm gonna say it like, yes, ma'am, with this hair, you gonna serve during this good Black History Month. Did I get it right? Let me know if I got it right.
You got it.
So yeah, there are people checking in from all over. Washington, D.C., Bethlehem, Georgia, Decatur, Georgia, Franklin, Tennessee. What's up right outside of Nashville? Hey, Atlanta. Brooklyn's in the house. Harlem's in the house. Sorry, I did miss Michigan. Yeah, my bad.
Couple Michigans.
There are a couple Detroit, Houston. There's a lot of people here from New York. All right, Houston. Nashville, Indianapolis, Halifax, Georgia. Oh, sorry, Virginia. Gulfport. All right, Jersey, Chicago.
My bad. What I was saying is I'm probably going to fast forward a little bit to get to the juice part of their dialogue. So
I love it. Like, I think this is incredible. Thank you guys. Great point. And that's the reason, like, when you research these records that are during that time period, and I
should have just been patient. Let me go back. Lesson learned. All right. Live.
Yes. Regardless. See? Look at my pearls. I love my pearls.
Oh, Shelly. So Shelly did a talk. I even did a live with Family Search before I came on here. Again, it is Black History Month. Black people are in like extra high-rise jeans right now. Yes, we are. All right. So Reconstruction and Aftermath named Jim Crow. Of course, as Shelly says, and I totally agree with her, Reconstruction never finished. It never actually reached
still waiting.
So, right. I'm still waiting. Yes, like Jodeci.
But Nika,
I'm waiting.
Tell me why all the scholars and all other folks always are writing about Reconstruction. We had a few wins, and I'm saying we as in the African people, African American people, we had a few wins. There's acts that happen, all of that. But are we not dealing with the same stuff?
It's the same thing.
It's just dressed up a little differently. And now we got the cameras all looking and everything. So I think I got to go and say, where's the Reconstruction? When is it really going to happen? And there's too much out there, and I'm not seeing the end of something that supposedly had started because it's just
allegedly
still there.
That's my favorite word. Right. Allegedly happened.
I'll say allegedly.
Allegedly, yes. And I think that's a great point, and that's the reason. Like when you research these records that are during that time period, and I really consider, Reconstruction really in some ways starting before the war is over. Like when you start looking through Freedmen's Bureau records and you start seeing some of the support programs and things going in, especially in the pre-Bureau records, when you get into Mississippi and the Mississippi, the Louisiana area and the Mississippi Delta, right? You see the precursors to labor contracts. You see the
Right.
precursors to rations and, you know, all of those things. So it really kind of started early. And then I even go really almost up to 1900 in some instances, depending on where people live. Some people go
Absolutely.
earlier, right? But I really consider it, you know, maybe Civil War, maybe 1862, 63, right around when they started allowing, you know, Black men to enlist in the Civil War, right? Kind of that. And then all the way up to like 1900. So yeah, it's that show was a great one to definitely give context. The last one I would suggest is 35 Rights of Life, Religious, Fraternal, and Benevolent Societies. This organization we're going to be talking about tonight is definitely that. They were a benevolent organization. That's where the roots of that, the whole thing started. And so, all right, so we've got our previous episodes locked and loaded. So let's talk about it. What is it? What is the National Ex-Slave Pension Movement? Who wants to go first? What is it?
Grandmama gonna go first. But all I want to say is the title tells it all. It's just basically there was a movement to obtain pensions or some form of a pension type. I'm going to use the word reparation, which might not be correct, for the previous folks that were enslaved. So there was a movement that started trying to get assistance for them. And again, you think about it, we deserve something for all of the labor and things that happen. You know, anything, I'm going to say X amount of years old, probably had hands, as we see in documents. They're called hands that built that. And those hands would have been the enslaved folks. You know, I got 10 hands that's coming. That's 10 individuals. So yeah, it was a huge movement, and I'll throw it back to, you know, True or Ellen. And again, we're still dealing with that. Again, just like the Reconstruction, we're looking back at that, and everything they tried to do gets cut. Why? Ellen?
It's just incomplete forms of support after the war. I mean, so many people were in need, and we see that all through the Freedmen records, the different bureaus, and letters after letters after letters, people trying to get food, trying to get housing, trying to get some kind of help for their families. And what I find so surprising with this movement is just like, we're still talking about the war, but it's like 1890. You know, it's already 20 years later, over 20 years, 25 years or something like that, that people are trying to get the government to do something. And then there's this effort underway to try to make something happen legally, you know, and then it becomes, then it blows up at a certain point, thanks to government. But yeah.
Right. And something to also remember with this, you all, is that the ex-slave pension movement, while there probably were smaller efforts made that weren't as well documented, it was all started by a Southern white man.
Yes.
Just sit and marinate on that for a second.
Yes.
The ex-slave pension movement was started by a man named Walter R. Vaughn, who was from Selma, Alabama, but in some ways remade himself into a Midwesterner. Didn't he live in like Iowa?
I think it was Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was Iowa. It was Sioux Falls, right? I think it was Sioux Falls. And he wanted to stimulate the Southern economy. So he came up with this whole idea for pensions, thinking, oh, well, you know, if we give the ex-slaves money, well, then that means they'll go out and spend it. And then that will bring the South back to its former glory, right? And so in addition to him doing this, right, again, we have to remind you, this is modeled after the Civil War pension system, okay? Again, moving from that, there was actually legislation that was written and introduced into Congress. And that legislation, it got, submitted several times, but everyone kept using the exact same language. And who drafted that language? Walter R. Vaughn. Now let's also circle back. Walter Vaughn's family were slaveholders.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's have some dialogue around that. Because that in itself, again, I want to stimulate the economy, and I'm not living in the South, but you probably still own land there, or your brother is still operating your family's land, or you know what I mean? Like, why is it, I think this is one of the things I walked away with after we talked about this was, why is our success always tied to somebody else's benefit?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't our success operate separate? You know what I mean? Like just having something for us. And I think that's part of the problem that people encounter in research, because it's like, gosh, here are all these Band-Aids, but like we got Band-Aids and then other people got a box for them, and that they could leave and use whenever they felt like it. What do you guys think?
I totally agree. And when you talked about it being modeled after the pension, just think of that perspective right there. Military, war, combat, death. If there's war, there's death, no matter what. And they're going to model what, coming for the pension, to model that after, I'm going to say, the soldiers. And can we look at it the same way? Why not? Why not? That's the format. Same thing if I jump to the Freedmen Bureau records. That's military. There's going to be forms. There's going to be questions. There's going to be boxes.
Right.
There's going to be gathered information. And for this guy, Mr. Vaughn, to step himself out really is amazing. But I'm going to say it this way. He saw money.
I read that he was.
I'm going to take the shoes off.
Look, take the pearls off too, since we taking things off. Come on now. We taking off earrings. I mean, come on now. We got to make a decision now. What were you going to say, Ellen?
It was money.
I read that he was a former captain in the Confederate Army.
Right.
And then he's in Iowa, which kind of like disconnects that earlier history with that. In that,
call the roll. Come on, y'all. We singing the spiritual right now. Let's call the roll. Like literally, call the roll. Because again, right?
Who's going to benefit?
Who is going to benefit? And the fact, again, we almost never get some, you can even just apply it to people who are in need, right?
Yes.
Legislation that gets rammed through with all of these earmarks for other stuff.
Not the field
right?
office going to get assistance.
Come on now, right? And the fact that even when you go back to the Freedmen's Bureau, the fact that the planters paid a tax to fund the schools, right? That the government didn't do that. They gave the money to fund the schools, but the tax base came from them. Anyone who was in contract, they had a tax they paid. That money went to fund the Freedmen's Bureau schools, right? Yeah. So the organization that Walter Vaughn started was called the National Ex-Slave Pension Association. But there were several other organizations that existed around this time. National Ex-Slave Pension Club Association, Ex-Slave Pensioners Assembly.
Check. Mic check 1, 2. Just making sure the audio is still going. If anybody's still tuned in, just want to make sure everything's still going straight. Instead of wait for a second, but I'm back. I want to make sure everything good. But seems like it would be straight since
Great National Ex-Slave Union, Congressional Legislative and Pension Association of the USA. Like, I'm like, what kind of acronym? Their letterhead must be out of control. Ex-Slave.
But that one was union.
I do think I gotta say fair use. Every 15 to 30 minutes or so. So this is fair use for educational purposes only. All right.
That one is a little bit, might be a little different per se. I'm trying to stretch it and feel better about it because we know there's money, and Vaughn was a Confederate, like you said. But that one's the only one that, when you called it out, the Great National Ex-Slave Union. So are the people that are pushing it or that made that organization, were they union people? Were they Northerners? Or
it might have been a direct pushback against Walter Vaughn and the fact that he was a Southerner.
Yes.
Right? So again, and remember with this, you all, we're going to be talking about the more well-known organizations because their records are easily accessible, right? Yeah. Or you might have to go down, do needle in a haystack to get to some of these other ones. Ex-Slave Pension Association, Ex-Slave Departmental Industrial Association of America, Western Division Association. I don't know what they were dividing, but they were dividing something, and they were trying to do with pensions. Ex-Slave Pension Association of Texas, Ex-Slave Pension Association of Kansas. So that sounds like, again, that you will be incorporated as a chapter based on the state, right? And so, of course, the organization that had the longest term was the National Ex-Slave Mutual Relief, Bounty, and Pension Association of the United States of America, also known as MRBNPA. They were chartered in August 7th, 1897 in Cashville, Tennessee.
So we know Miss Marquita's listening.
Right. I want you all to realize that the galvanization of this really happened in Tennessee, and that this was like literally the states that had the most people that you would see like on the like the roster of agents were deep South states. Like these were not, oh, hey, it's a bunch of people in Ohio. No, it was like Arkansas, Mississippi, right? And so again, headquarters in Nashville, leadership began with Isaiah Dickerson, who was a reverend. He was ordained, along with Callie House, who was a powerhouse. We're going to get to her a little bit later.
Yes.
And then after Isaiah Dickerson dies, Reverend Augustus Clark ascends to the ranks. Again, we mentioned earlier, they were a classic mutual aid society, right? So they're helping with, people who can't take care of themselves, burials, right? A lot of the stuff we talked about in Rights of Life, with benevolent organizations, mutual funds, right? And they were surveilled for years by the government. In fact, not only were they surveilled for years by the government, but they were surveilled by the oldest operating law enforcement arm of the U.S. government. Do you guys want to guess what arm of the government that has the oldest law enforcement arm of the U.S. government? What do you think that is? Come on, True.
Oh man, the longest arm.
Yeah.
Has the longest, like older than the deputy marshals, all of that.
I don't want to say the Justice Department.
It's not, but
No.
that's first thing
Close.
I always think.
Yeah.
The Popo.
Yes. No.
Not the Popo you're thinking.
Not the Popo.
The Po-O.
No.
The POO, the U.S. Postal
Postal.
Inspection Service.
Yeah, U.S.
Okay?
Post.
The police for your mail.
Yeah. She was good. Right on there. Good.
You were right
Right
there.
on
That
it.
was good, True. That was good.
It couldn't come out.
But at the
there you go.
Postal Service,
Yes.
was it the whole part, or was it just a certain
department.
department that
It
oversaw
was a
this?
certain department that was
Okay.
over mail fraud.
That's right.
and all of that.
Inspection. Got it.
Right. And so they surveilled them for years, and they kind of determined that they were not going to like prosecute them. Like there was no cause, right? People were writing them letters all the time, like, y'all better come get these Negro pensions trying to get our people. And they were like, look, they're not doing anything wrong. Because basically what they were waiting for was the people to say that they were an agent of the U.S. government that had it on good word that,
Correct.
that the ex-slaves were going to get pensions. And they could never catch anybody in this until 1917 and 1918. Now, here's the other thing, right? Just Callie House got a conviction.
Yeah.
Just a woman.
A black woman.
A black woman.
The black woman, right? And this was a collaborative effort at this point. It was the Bureau of Pensions, the U.S. Postal Service Inspection Service, what I just told you guys about, and the Department of Justice. All three of them came together and were like, oh no, we about to stop this, right? And so here's the thing. The years before they convicted Miss Callie, they stopped allowing them to send mail, y'all.
That's right.
Right? Like they would not honor. So like if Shelly was in her chapter in Virginia and she was going to send me a piece of mail down here in Tennessee and my post office got it, they would stamp it fraudulent. Or they would choose
send it back for file.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Or they would hold it and I wouldn't get the mail. Okay.
Right.
And you have to think about this. They didn't honor their money order. So let's say you paid into it and you got a money order from the post office, they wouldn't accept the money orders either. So the organization, right. But the organization continued to survive for almost 20 years after this, you guys. After the nope, we're not money orders, right? And so it's just absolutely crazy. So I want to go ahead and show an example of the order. Go ahead, Shelley.
But why you're pulling that up, we're talking about all these federal offices.
Yeah.
And they're stopping it? Does that not raise a flag?
Right.
I mean, why? Do they not want the relief to help people?
Right.
Or they wanted the relief and didn't feel it was right? I want to grasp on, and I never understood why certain things are under different, offices or departments of the, arms of the federal government. But again, why are they stopping that money coming into those organizations when this is the federal government? Why?
Right. Right.
I mean, is there a deterrent, or they're not in support of what was going on? It's from the people.
Right. Well, yes, but again, right, the legislation was introduced. I don't even think it got to committee stage. So
I don't think so.
You know what I mean? So it was just like, oh, this is a thing, whatever. And they honestly, when we get to perceptions a little bit later, even the bourgeoisie of Black folks were like against this. Like they thought that these folks were just taking advantage of everyone that was participating in this.
That's it right there.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So, the good blacks, have to add the S. They were taking advantage. So here's an example from the post office, right? Order number 613, dated September 25th, 1899. It having been made to appear to the Postmaster General upon evidence satisfactory to him that the Ex-Slave Mutual Relief Bounty and Pension Association and I.H. Dickerson, that would be Isaiah Dickerson, National Manager, Reverend D.D. McNary, National President, Reverend N. Smith, National Secretary, Mrs. Callie House, National Assistant Secretary, Reverend H. Head, National Treasurer, and I.H. Dickerson at Nashville, Tennessee, are engaged in conducting a scheme or device for obtaining money through the mails by means of false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises in violation of the Act of Congress entitled, quote, an act to amend certain sections of the revised statutes relating to lotteries and for other purposes approved September 19, 1890. Now, therefore, by authority vested in him by said act and by the Act of Congress entitled, quote, an act for the suppression of lottery traffic through international and interstate commerce and the Postal Service, subject to the jurisdiction and laws of the United States, approved March 2nd, 1895, the Postmaster General hereby forbids you to pay any postal money order drawn to the order of the said association of persons, and you are hereby directed to inform the remitter of any such postal money order that payment thereof has been forbidden, and that the amount thereof will be returned upon the presentation of the original order of or duplicate thereof applied for and obtained under the regulations of the department. And you are hereby instructed to return all letters, whether registered or not, in other mail matter, which shall arrive at your office directed to the said association of persons, to the postmaster at the offices of which they were mailed. Now, here's the thing. Someone that was in the chat room was super smart and definitely saw the connection between this and what Steve Bannon was arrested on in the prior administration. It's the exact same thing. It's mail fraud, collecting money for false pretenses. In that situation, it was collecting money for this border wall that he then used to, enrich himself.
Exactly.
So there's an additional thing with this, where this is just a piece of the advertising that they did. Here's I.H. Dickerson, General Manager of the National Ex-Slave Mutual Relief Bounty and Pension Association of the United States of America. And we're going to read his statement because he says something at the end. Let me go back and show his picture. We're going to give you your due.
That's a nice looking gentleman there.
Yeah.
Fighting for
Sure
the people.
is. Sure is, right? So he says, fellow citizens, ladies and gentlemen, more than 2 years of my time has been wholly devoted in advocating the rights of the Negro as a citizen of this government, and especially the right of the ex-slave to a compensation from the government for wrongs perpetrated during the existence of slavery that were not in accord with the Declaration of Independence of the United States, which declared all men free and equal and endowed with certain rights, life, liberty, and the pursuits of happiness, all of which the Negro has been deprived, save life, and that to a limited extent only. The pension bill now pending, right? This is HR 1119, right?
Yeah.
And that, remember, that's the one Walter Vaughn wrote. Okay, remember, it was initially pushed in 1890, and then several iterations of it went after. Okay, I want to say it was probably like 7 or 8. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. So he mentions the pension bill now pending is just and should prevail over the heads of all opposition. The wheel of justice in its revolutions has blessed all emancipated races in a general sense. But outside of the affair, which occurred in the Indian Territory, May 8, 1897, when the wrongs of 4,868 freedmen of that locality were adjusted by the government, the Negro has received but a small degree of satisfaction. Notice how he calls out the freedmen of the 5 tribes. Okay,
so help me understand that for the audience too. Help.
Right, because there's a perception. Right. There's a perception, especially among people in the African descendants of slavery movement or the reparational movement, that freemen of the 5 tribes should not get reparations because we were given land allotments through the Dawes Commission, right? Yeah. So that's people's perception that we should not get any reparations because we received land. And that's the problem with that is that not everybody who was formerly enslaved by the 5 tribes, Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Muskogee Creek, and Seminole nations received a land allotment. There were a ton of people who were rejected. So to assume that everyone got it meant, you would totally be disqualifying a certain number of people.
But they did get land, and everybody in the household, even the children, did get land. Even though I understand what you're saying, but for the ex-slave not under the 5 civilized tribes, there's no comparison to me. So I have a little problem.
Well, but here's where the rubber meets the road. Remember, I told you the pot of land, right? It was just the more people they rejected, the more everyone else got. Mm-hmm. So if somebody was on a rejected card, they didn't get any land. So to throw everyone in who applied into this big bucket and to say that their descendants should not get a form of reparations is very hasty, because you're going to still have to comb through all those cards to see if the person actually got an allotment. Then if it's on an approved card, did they get the land they selected? Did they even follow that process through? So this isn't clean. You know what I mean? Like, as much as we want it to be clean, it's not clean.
But we're still fighting to get something. And at least we know some did get something. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I still struggle with it here, because I'm going to say the average person that was enslaved, I'm going to say the majority did not get anything, and we're still fighting that battle, and it's 2021. I also want to comment.
So check. So there you go. You still have a little bit of way to fight for your land, or fight for land if you're an African descendant. So it's something at stake for both sides. Why not, color folk? Is it so hard to fight together on this issue? Like, it really, maybe I'm missing something, but seems like these group of ladies get it. They understand law, and you have to use law against law. It's just like when they say the only way to rebut science is with science. Simple as that, so we're going to look more into this right here. We're going to make it a part 2. And I just want to remind everybody that, let me share my screen. We go back over here. Come back here. Boop, boop. So we back on this. I'll make sure I So that was we're exploring African Native American genealogy in this forum, okay, on afrigenius.com. I'm gonna place that link in the description where you can find that. And this um, channel, Black Pro Gen Live, was referred to by Angela Walton Rogie, and I feel like there's still some learning to do that can benefit us all as colored people. Okay, and not just throwing arrows, you know what I'm saying, to the arrow, the other side, and even vice versa. That it is room for the fight. You know what I'm saying, for you to fight your fight, and the other side can fight their fight against the system. So we see that it's a bunch of fights going on that need to be had. We see that they're talking about it. Okay. So yeah, we was on this particular thread, and I'm gonna play part two tomorrow or later on tonight. But I really want to try to get through exploring some of this forum and see what all see. As you see, a lot of information came from that one particular recommendation by Miss Angela. All right. So topics to be discussed. Your history does not rest with the Dawes Rolls. Where are the descendants clustered today? Basics of how to research the history of freedmen families, slave revolts, uprisings, and Red Crow. Is genealogy put in the back seat? Best resources for finding the family story, and much more. Note, Black ProGen is a group of professional African American researchers who met bi-weekly to discuss various topics and resources of interest to families of color. A segment of the show also contains something called Ask Marat, where the panelists try to solve brick wall questions for viewers, and of this is done live. Join the Black ProGen Live team next week. Link coming soon. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Please forgive me for this squeaky table that got my mouse on, so when I'm moving around, it's making the table move. All right, so let's go back to that. We was in the gallery index. We had clicked one of these links over here. All this. I'm so happy to share the new great friend, Freedmen of the Frontier. That's Miss Angela. I did purchase her book, Black Indian Genealogy Research. I'm thumbing through it right now, as you can hear, and it's very, 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 very informative. Quite frank, just full of helpful information on creating good methodology and attacking this problem of knowing who you are or where you come from. All right, so let's see. So that's one of the books, Freedmen on the Frontier. I might have to check that out too. Go back. I don't know what this is. African, let's see. Could your ancestors have been known as Raymond Canal? As because on the National Park Service database of Civil War soldiers, there was a Raymond Canal. Okay, somebody. One Indian Home Guard info. This is okay. I don't know what wonder what program she's using to look this up. But let's see. Let's go back to the gallery index. Let's see, is this a D? Oh, did I just click on that? The Osage at the Federal Court Center in Fort Worth. Some have been digitized, subject to birth, marriage, death records, their own ancestry. Yeah. All right, you might have to get out of it. We did get some helpful information out of the first one. What's this? CNN observance of Black History Month. This was 2016. Dawes Commission. Got a page 2 on that thing. Got some Sylvia is supposed to be the daughter of Chief William McIntosh. She's the full sister of William McIntosh, Arkansas town king. So I keep hearing these kings, the word king, right, in these black towns in Indian territory. Okay, so this particular thread, Arkansas town king and half sister to Rosa Lee, David E. Lee's mother, her grandson Spy Hawkins was married to great. So where is that picture though? Where did it go? So image, maybe it's in this first one. Are there any versed in the history of John Horace and the Seminoles who migrated out to Mexico? I'd like more information. Also, I'd like to know what the common main search engines and information sites you all are using besides the NARA.gov and footnotes. Thanks for your help. So let's see if I'm also interested in which Hawkins clans you're looking for. Myself, I am from the Robert C. Hawkins clan. His father and mother are Bonnie Hawkins and Annie Hawkins. Let's get some June. I am now beginning research the ones alongside John Hurst Seminole, as well as most on that line related to the McIntoshes and McGilvery's Muskogee Nation. And I had read in a document that the McIntosh and Hawkins were moved to Texas, IT, resided back and forth, bought slaves from Mexico. Slaves come from the dang old Mexico. Anybody know anything else about this? They just throwing it out there and just hoping somebody. I'm trying to find that picture. That picture looking kind of. Let's see. Let's go back. Yeah, I don't know. Let me. Move over to view. So I move on. If I go, I ain't gonna let me do that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna go on down. Very interesting. I will look forward to reading about your research. And this was in 2009. What are you saying? You lived in Mexico after old. So it was. I said decent was good and Espanol. So, so this is Muskogee in Spanish. That's how they say Muskogee in Spanish. And does anyone know the origins of the Chickasaw Choctaw, Mexico? Chickasaw Choctaws coming from Mexico. Never heard of that. I'm open for discussion. I do in the Choctaw story, creation story. They come out the ground. Nina, I can't even say the name. The Neil Wild. I can't believe that. Choctaw Cave creation. I don't even, Nina Wire. So they ain't gonna. Thought they gonna have that pronunciation. Nina, Nana, Nina Wire. All right, but let's go back. So yeah, so we got one story that they come from out the cave of Nina Wire, and one story that they come from the west. So they got two stories. They might got 3 stories of where they Choctaw come from. And there's a story that they come from the west. The Choctaw and Chickasaw come from the west. The brothers. The brothers comes from the west and leading the clans to the east. Something happened. They placed the stick down where the wind was blowing, or where the moon. It was something, but you got different stories that is documented as as what they believed in. I could have just gone to Washburn to see if I could get a copy of this just few weeks back. So I realized now I'm wondering that it was supporting blah 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 blah. Let's go to the actual index of these discussions. See, we got 420 pages, and well, I guess someone blank. This ain't page 5 ain't got nothing. Page 6 ain't page 5 ain't got nothing. Page 6 ain't got nothing. Okay, so even though it say 420, all of them might not be filled. It might say 200 something pages full of content and discussions. That's I figure that's pretty helpful. All right, former slaves of Cherokee Indians. If that resonates with you or catches your attention, this is 2020, so this is pretty recent discussions that's going on right now. And we're gonna go all the way back. We didn't see some 2009, 2008, maybe 2007, somewhere over in that thing. And but we just want to put that out there, man, that even those in the indigenous community, we tend to just shut off the African history side for some reason. That I don't know why, when it's obvious that we share a history together. We share a history. At some point in time, we share a history, right? And part of, at least for the Southeast, if you believe in the Trail of Tears, and your people being taken from your land, you know what I'm saying, and placed on reservations in the community called Oklahoma, or a state called Oklahoma, you know what I'm saying, Indian territory. Okay, let's keep this one right quick. Let me go down right quick. The Rentier family, Cheap Creek Freedmen. I'm Creek on my paternal side, Choctaw on my maternal. Need to get into the Creek side, but my family don't know. They just heard. You know what I'm saying? They don't know the name. So I'm like, man, I don't even know where to start. But with the with some with the family tree, so it's probably people looking for their own little, in search of a slave named Jake Choctaw Freeman. Okay. Dunn Road versus Dawes Road. All right, what that about? What they talking about? The only difference that I can see is there was no Indian blood requirement for either one, Dunn or Dawes Roads. no Indian blood required, okay, to be on these two. So what were the possibilities that, it was completely full-blooded Indians on these roads? Do you think some mixed bloods got on there? Do you think some people who wasn't Indians got up on there claiming that they were? I don't know. Yo, wait, yo. It's on me, out of my mind. All right, to be on these roads, period, was that you had to be a citizen of the Creek Nations to get payments and land. Okay, Miss Norma, or Mr. Norma, Miss Norma. The Dawes Commission placed freedmen separately because they were slaves, although some slaves were mixed blood. And of course, to be on the freedman roll, the mother was a slave. Oh, y'all hear them kids, but I'm telling you, they probably come in. I already know. From reading various cards, a lot of freedmen were transferred to the freedman role. That again, from the reading various cards, a lot of freedmen were transferred to the freedman role that were mixed blood and had by blood relatives. I believe that the separation of the roles was about land restrictions. There was no blood requirement for citizenship into the Creek Nation for freedmen, so why now? Any comments on the 1979 decision? Okay, continuing with the subject who was placed on the Dawes rolls, Cooper Davis. Old Series card number 78 indicates that his mother was Vina Davis, dead, from 1898, census card 1044. This card meant that Cooper Davis was transferred to the freedman role. Cooper's father was Joe Davis. No mention of Joe Davis on this card. It is strange that Cooper Davis and Cato Davis had the same father, but Cooper's blood was 3/4 Indian blood. Ain't no mention of Cato Davis' blood, same father. Indian, you 3/4 of Indian blood, but you on a freedman road. You on a what? A freedman road. That's what I'm saying. That's where the confusion at. That's where the confusion at. Not all these freedmen are Africans. They are Indians. They are mixed, and probably some white folk in that thing trying to get some land. Right? So yeah, if I can blow this up, let's go zoom, 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 zoom. Let's see if we can get a little farther in that thing. Let's see. Boom, posters continuing. To say that freedmen had no Indian blood is not true. And I wish this lie would stop. To say that freedmen had no Indian blood, this is exactly what I was saying, right? I'm saying they did have Indian blood. So, that's normal still. Okay, normal. But because the female male was a slave in the testimonies taken during the Dawes period, the family documentation indicated that most families had no Indian blood to mention, to be proven. I noticed that Vina Davis, a slave, had several children, and I'm wondering if she did have Indian blood, and if so, her children were also. But no family documentation of Indians in her family. Joe Davis could have some Indian blood, no documentations anywhere. And that's where we at. Like most, I think, if you say that the Europeanized chiefs that are in place, or if you actually go to a reservation and you look at the people and you notice that they don't look like you, right? Like those, you would say probably Europeanized a good bit, but you rarely see one that might have been a descendant of somebody color, you know? So that's what I'm saying. Like, again, I noticed that Vina Davis, a slave, had several children, and I'm wondering if she did have Indian blood. And if so, her children would also. Okay, so we hear these things in our families that you got Indian in your family, but no family documentation is where most of us at. We trying to break down them doors, trying to bust them down. And of Indians in the family, Joe, that could have some Indian blood, but no documentation. We got to get to the documentation. But for some of us, because of how the post office may be, how people like what's the man? I can't even think, man. It's not for real. Walter Plecker. Yeah. Walter Plecker. Those type people are the ones you don't have any documentation. And if you did, you were denied. Okay? The Treaty of 1866 is what freedmen descendants should be concerned with and not Indian blood. But you also know that treaties can be broken, as always, some loophole. Right. Just like the Choctaw, I have the president or a chief, standing chief. He doesn't want to. You know what? Let me find out. One second. Let me find out. I'm coming back. I just want to further prove my points and not to be up here rambling. Give me 1 second. Let me bring this up. Kid jumping in the things. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I'm gonna have to boom. This one, of course, and it's one more. No. There you go. All right. Because I already was looking at this, man. It seemed like the pieces just coming together how I wanted to. And I had to put it up here. Okay. So don't want to move. Going back here. All right. So we here at Capitol Beat, Oklahoma. Can I zoom? Right? Okay, I wonder if y'all can see that. I wonder if y'all can see that. Let me see you. Was it on movie? Yeah. All right. And get that quick view. So slave owning past remains problem for the Choctaws. Okay. So when I tell you about them documentations and people, the nation really is Europeanized, okay, and to be civilized, you would have to take on the European ways, right? So slavery was adopted by the Choctaw people. Not only that, but the 5 civilized tribes. See, they all had slaves, okay, and they called them slaves, freedmen, who was supposed to be African slaves, but now with the Indians, all right, they, you know what I'm saying, they had a little bit of everything, even themselves in there, or other tribes as prisoner slaves. Might be a term for that, and for lack of a better word, that's what they were. Okay, but the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, whose members owned black slaves and fought on the side of the Confederacy in the Civil War is not opposing federal efforts to require that descendants of their tribes, former slaves called freedmen, be given promised rights before the tribe can receive federal housing funds. Choctaw leaders say any such requirement infringes upon tribal sovereignty. So they already got their bylaws and how they operate and govern their system and nation, and they saying, although where we at right now as we stand, helping out black folks is not the way they're trying to go. It infringes on what they got going on. So the freedmen issue is a problem caused by the United States, not the Choctaw Nation. Okay, this is Gary Baton or Baton. Gary Baton. We're gonna call him Baton. Gary Baton. You know what I'm saying? Wrote in the June 25th letter. This is the link right here, and I believe if I swing on over here, I go to the actual letter. Okay, this is in that article, right? Fred Carter, shout out to you. Published August 2020, right? Capital B, Oklahoma. I don't think it's, let's see. Yeah, so this is the actual letter. I follow the link. And as you can see right here in the top right corner, it's the chief, Gary Baton, okay? Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. Now, this is different from the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians in Mississippi, okay? So here we go. Honorable Nancy Pelosi, Speaker, U.S. House of Representatives, Washington, D.C., 20515. Dear Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, I write to ask you to exercise your leadership to oppose recent efforts by the chairwoman of the Committee on Financial Services, the Honorable Maxine Waiters, to insert in-house related bills being shaped by the House in the aftermath of the killing of George Floyd, a provision requiring the Choctaw Nation to pay the price of resolving the federal government's freedmen issue. Okay, it's the government's freedmen issue. Choctaws don't want to be a part of that. When they know they played a part of it. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like you use our people, and then when it comes time to ante up, you don't want to pay for the work. Shiesty. The freedmen issue is a problem caused by the United States, not the Choctaw Nation. But you a civilized tribe. You're one of the 5 civilized tribes. Congress should not be permitted to abuse its power by forcing the Choctaw Nation to fix America's long-standing problems of systematic racism rooted in America's enslavement of African Americans. Just as African Americans today struggle to survive and thrive after generations of slavery dispossessed them of the fruits of the labor stolen from their ancestors, so too the Choctaw Nation today struggles to survive and thrive after repeated and massive American thefts of Choctaw land. Dispossessed the Choctaw Nation, stolen from Choctaw Nation. All right. Today, it should shock the American conscience that Chairwoman Waiters is asking Congress to force the Choctaw Nation to bear the heavy burden of repairing America's breach with Africans. See, from my perspective, America should solve its own problems. Yeah, and Choctaw, y'all gotta help solve that problem too, because y'all had y'all hands in it. Now, I would say not to every. Y'all only take responsibility for those you already had in bondage. It'll go like that. Because when we say America's a problem, because y'all didn't have all of America in bondage. Y'all only had a certain amount. of slave, African American slaves, right? You didn't have the whole coast, East Coast slaves that went to the Caribbean islands, right? So you know what I'm saying. I was take responsibility for those that you had in bondage. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Those African Americans, those Indians who were classified as freedmen. Okay, Choctaw Nation representatives have tried without success to dissuade Chairwoman Waters to abandon her proposed bill language. All right, because this all what this is about. It's about language, and they use it in court a certain way. You know what I'm saying? They take it out of, you know what I'm saying, our universal English language as we know today, and they put the twist to it, and it means certain things that's not in the original rhetoric how we speak. That makes sense. But yeah, we oppose it because it purports to override the federally approved constitution of the Choctaw Nation. So they saying that the feds are reneging, subjugate the sovereignty, self-governance, and self-determination of the Choctaw Nation to the control of the federal government and pass for trial and federal judicial procedures. There is no more fundamental element of tribal self-governance, and that than the authority of the tribe, like the Choctaw Nation, to determine our own citizenship. See Santa Clara Pueblo versus Martinez, 436 U.S. 49, 55, 72 in 1978. See also Rice versus Cayetano, 528 U.S. 495, 527, 2010. Brother, hey, they got they when they talk that shit, they bring in receipts. These are court cases, right? And you can't play the system with anything other than the system. You know what I'm saying? The documentation from the system. All right. But yeah, this is this is just from the Choctaw Nation. Jaff language sought by Representative Maxine Braders, Chairwoman, House Committee on Financial Services, distributed by committee staff on June 9, 2020, opposed by the Choctaw. Blah, blah, blah. The Secretary of Housing and Urban Development shall that's HUD or HUD, HUD. That's a very important, and to my understanding, that is really for Indians, Aborigines, indigenous people, black people, copper colored people, colored people. The Secretary of Housing of Urban Development should withhold all or partial funds to a tribe or tribal entity under the acts if, after consultation with the Secretary of the Interior and the tribe, the Secretary determines prior to disbursement that the tribe is not in compliance with obligations under its 1866 treaty. So the government is saying, I don't care what treaties you have right now, but this one right here, 1866 treaty with the United States as it relates to the inclusion of persons who are lineal descendants of freedmen, right? As having the rights of the citizens of the tribe, of such tribe. The federal court has issued a final order that determines the treaty obligation with respect to including freedmen as citizens. For purpose of this subparagraph, a court order is not considered final if time remains for an appeal of application for discretionary review with respect to the order. So the 1866 treaty grants the freedmen their allotments of land, right? Let's tell you how. Let's check it out. Treaty, 1866 treaty. Shortly after Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation went into effect, the Cherokee Nation issued an act providing for the abolition of slavery in the Cherokee Nation, which called for immediate emancipation of all slaves in the Cherokee Nation. This is not just for Cherokee Nation. So you got treaties with all. I'm trying to. Chickasaw. It's probably Chickasaw Treaty 1866. Aftermath of the American Civil War. At the end of the Civil War, 5 southern southeastern tribes faced reparations. Okay. At the end of the Civil War, the 5 southeastern tribes, right, faced reparations for opposing the North. All were summoned to Washington and forced to sign a treaty renewing their compact with the U.S., agreeing to recognize the rights and provide railroad right-of-ways through their lands. This unleashed another flood of settlers. The treaty, which the Chickasaw and the Choctaw signed on April 28, 1866, restored their treaty payments, but the tribe had to cede the least district west of the 1980 meridian to the U.S. government for the resettlement of 10,000 Kansas Indians. In addition to the Chickasaws and the Choctaws were to receive a nominal payment of $300,000 for that land, which was held in trust by the U.S. pending the granting of tribal citizenship of freedmen. Citizenship rights were never extended. However, freedmen were also never removed. Instead, many were granted allotments of Chickasaw lands. Freedmen were also never removed. Instead, many were granted of Chickasaw lands, and the U.S. retained the money pledged for the ceded lands. All right, so that's the case on that, and yeah, I mean, they have a fight. You know what I'm saying? They say they most receive allotments, but it's a lot of people that didn't receive allotments who earn, that is well deserved of those land allotments. And that fight, man, it seemed to be the a better and more logical fight to win over versus being able to integrate, you know what I'm saying, into something that's not for us, right? I mean, there are ways to play the game, but we just got to switch the swag up a little bit and change the direction of our energy, right? Let's go over here, man. What time we go? We got about. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit that like button if you don't mind. We're gonna wrap this up for the day. Been going 2 hours. I'm setting records, personal records, man. 2 hours a day. I didn't really plan to go this long. My kids off of school, so I ain't really have to worry about, the timing on it. So, it's all good. It's all good in the hood, right? But this is Brother Lawrence, man. I want y'all to do your genealogy, man. Figure out who your people are. If you know who you are, and show somebody else how to find out who your people are. If you have the luxury of having a family already, like a historian, your family tree historian, to kind of give you information, you should be motivated. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking at this video, if you're within the indigenous community or Pan-African, we encourage Pan-Africans to, we encourage the Pan-Africans and everybody else to research and open up, just become open-minded, man. And we all play a part in this big story. Nobody's necessarily wrong. It's just you have a different history than I do, but I can learn with you because it, cultures, um, it's a culmination of all type of stuff when this history is being talked about in the U.S. Right? So if we share a history, okay, that's not totally 100% on both sides of the story, and we have some kind of something that we share or something in common, with dealing with battles, colonizing, being colonized. I had to get myself together to get that out. But yeah, man, I think from what I hear from other channels, I hear a good thing that's going, and I want to continue or do my part and continuing that vibe and building, and everybody's not gonna see it the way you see it, the way I see it, but I'm the type of person to put those differences aside, you know what I'm saying, and still be able to build and get some up out of it in real life, not just on YouTube, just because I came in your chat or just because I commented on a picture or whatever the case may be. We could put what we differ aside and get to the boots on the ground and making a difference, whether it's what I'm saying, in somebody else's life or even your life or our life, if we network and collaborating like that. you, you know I'm open, man, to any suggestion. Make sure you check out my last build, man. I kind of told all on what I do, was outside of this YouTube realm, what I do in real life, and hope y'all find it well and it resonate with you. I hope this show today resonated with you. To at least hit that like button. Like I said before, do your genealogy, because it's key. It's a key part to understanding the other side to your argument, in a sense. Right? It's key. And without genealogy, it's kind of hard. You basically just taking at face value what somebody else say you are. And we're gonna leave it just like that. Brother Lawrence, represent that 228. We out this thing, man. Peace.